Transition partners take mental health very seriously. We are now supporting Claro Mental Health Charity, who are local and based in Harrogate. We are working closely with Richard Kenny, who is the IT director at TechBuyer. Claro operates as a commercial workshop making goods for businesses which enable those with long-term mental health conditions to function in a voluntary real work environment. We would love it if you can join us in supporting this amazing cause and charity and donate what you can. Any amount would be greatly appreciated. Thank you very much, and thanks to all our listeners.
Hi, this is the Let's Talk Leadership podcast. My name's Elly Greening.
And my name's Sandra Stewart.
On this podcast, we will be interviewing some of the UK's greatest tech leaders. We'll be discussing war stories, battle scars, and their learnings from their journeys.
Hopefully, you will pick up some great tips, learn from others' experiences, and have a good laugh along the way.
Hello and welcome to the Let's Talk Leadership podcast. We are super excited today to have Hannes Klöpper on. Hannes is an entrepreneur, co-founder and CEO who's passionate about getting things off the ground. He co-founded iVersity, an online education startup that pioneered the digital transformation of higher education in Europe before transitioning to corporate professional development. He has recently moved into the role of CEO for HelloBetter, which we're super excited to learn about. HelloBetter is a startup which offers innovative digital mental health solutions and aim to empower people with mental health problems. So we're so excited to have you on the show. Hello.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Hi, Hannes. Nice to have you on the show, and I'm super excited about this one, and really intrigued as well, particularly given all the given what you do in your current role and what the current company does around mental health problems. It's obviously a very hot topic at the moment, particularly with all the crisis that the world's been experiencing. So it'd be really interesting to learn more about that, particularly for our viewers and listeners. So if initially you could just tell us a little bit more about you, your background, how your whole journey started, and how you got to where you are today, that would be fantastic.
Sure, absolutely. It's a bit of a long and winding path, and maybe sort of an somewhat unusual one. So it's not, I didn't go to university, study business studies because I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but rather, I studied a range of different subjects. All of the courses that I pursued were kind of interdisciplinary. The programs were, international relations, liberal arts, public policy. As a friend of mine used to put it, I'm so broad, I'm almost deep. And I claim that as well. It was after graduating, I actually worked on a book project about the university in the 21st century. It was because I dug deep into the market at the time that I felt that something was afoot in terms of technology in higher education, and that this was the time to build something there and for things to change. But I felt it was unlikely that change was going to come from within, because institutions of higher education tend to be conservative, and they don't really have a lot of strategic capacity and a lot of resources to explore new ways of doing things. And that's how I ended up in the startup realm, because I felt this was the area where it was most likely that it'd be possible to get the kind of resources that you need to really build something that's something meaningful that could have a lasting impact and that could scale. And that's how I got involved in iVersity. My co-founder and I originally set out to build something that's sort of a more social LMS, if you will, that would enable people to have a more digital study experience. Quickly found out that reforming higher education IT is kind of like moving a graveyard, to speak with Derek Bock's famous quote, and then we kind of transitioned to a more B2C approach. Jumped on the MOOC bandwagon. We're the first player in that space in Europe, and then in the end transitioned towards professional education and B2B. Ultimately sold the company to Springer Nature, the publisher, and then I took a bit of a break and then got caught up in HelloBetter, and here we are today.
Fantastic. So you took a bit of a break. What did you do in your break? Anything interesting?
I really took a year off to just do things that I enjoyed, and I took care of my apartment, renovated the place, and traveled a bit. I also did some consulting work for some friends of mine that built this company in Munich, and also sort of looked at what could be next, what should be next. And also what different options were. So it was in that process that David, my co-founder at HelloBetter, and I started talking. We were friends before, and he told me, look, we have this company here. It's a university spin-off company. We're doing well, but this is so much more potential. You've experience with building a technology company and raising funding. Why don't you take a look at it and see, whether we could take this to new levels, so to speak. And that I did, and we quickly came to the conclusion, this is there's a lot of opportunity here, and so we decided to work together.
Fantastic, brilliant. So how long ago was that? If you could just tell me a little bit more about the challenges and how you started the business, what the kind of, I guess, the challenges and the journey in the early years to where you are today. That would be good to understand in a little bit more detail.
Absolutely. We started out working together at the beginning of 2019, and at the outset there were some structural issues to solve in terms of the cap table and just making the company fundable, so that from an investor perspective this made sense. So there, besides David, there were two other original co-founders, Hannes and Elena. They're also still on board. But there were also various other professors who were involved at the very beginning, and we kind of needed to, sort that out. Who's on board and who's contributing and who's going to make this company fly, and who's more in an advisor role. And so we had a lot of discussions around those things, figured things out there, and then I kind of drew up a map of what the company should look like in 2 years from then, when we'd be 40, 50 people, pretty much where we are today.
Wow.
And said, okay, who do we need to make that happen? And I brought in 4 other guys for product, marketing, tech, and operations. And the original 3 plus these new 4 and I, we together are the sort of the new founding team of HelloBetter.
Fantastic, amazing. That's such a fantastic achievement in a short space of time. So well done on that. That's amazing. So how's your business and growth been impacted? I should imagine it's been impacted in a positive way. But it'd be good to understand more about, I guess, recent and current challenges as a result of the crisis that we've all been experiencing.
Yeah, we've seen growth for sure, particularly actually more so on the B2B side. There are some deals that we were able to close that probably otherwise would have dragged out for longer, where COVID kind of forced the decision, like, so are we going to work together now on this or not? For on the B2C side, i.e. the clients, people taking our courses, there we've seen growth, but it wasn't sort of an explosion like we've seen in telemedicine, for example. But we're generally pretty happy where we are in terms of we're doing well in terms of our business plan, and it's all coming together, so to speak.
Fantastic.
Perfect. So it would be great to hear, obviously, I've got some more questions lined up for sure, but I would love to know a bit more about the innovative digital mental health solutions that you're working on at HelloBetter.
Absolutely. So, I mean, essentially, it's an online course. I mean, there are all these fancy names, digital therapeutics and whatnot, but what it comes down to, it's a course that helps you help yourself. It's about empowerment. So it's a solution where you, first of all, reflect upon your current situation, learn about your mental disorder and the problems that you're facing. Then you apply what you've learned in your daily life. So you know, there are exercises where some of it is, you know, writing exercises, again, reflection, but other things are really go out, do something. And so in the case of depression, for example, there's this vicious cycle where people kind of don't feel like they have the energy to do something. When they don't do something, they feel bad about it, and they're kind of caught in that spiral where we try to, you know, activate them, say, okay, you know, 50 minutes a day, do something that feels good, you know, go outside, go for a walk, meet friends, you know, cook something healthy, whatever it may be. And we kind of help people reflect upon what it is that does give them energy, and then to plan and integrate that into their daily lives. And the last component is a coaching element. So there's always a psychologist that you can contact when you have questions, when you're not sure about how to progress, but also, you know, they'll check in with you regularly to motivate you to stick with it. Because with mental health issues that you can treat with cognitive behavioral therapy, it's kind of like with losing weight. Losing weight is simple. You just have to, you know, exercise more and eat less. Yeah. So in that sense, it's simple. But doing that isn't so simple.
Mindset thing, isn't it?
And that is what we help people with. We designed a structured process that makes something that's, you know, sounds easy, but is in fact very difficult. So simple that, you know, it seems achievable, and you can, over the course of, you know, several weeks, learn really how to change your life.
Sounds brilliant, because you're really putting those steps into practice then. So I imagine it's so great to hear positive feedback from people that have gone through the course and come out the other side of it. And what an amazing job you have. Like, that must be amazing and must be great, that feeling. So yeah, that sounds fantastic. And clearly it's been a journey for you whilst you've been scaling up. But as CEO, we would love to know about your leadership style and how your teams would describe you as a leader.
I'm certainly not a micromanager. So I believe in, you know, bringing together the right kind of people that have different, you know, strengths and weaknesses, and that really complement each other, and then getting out of the way and letting them do their job that they know how to do much better than I do anyway. So I think it's more about really convening bright minds that are passionate about what they do, and letting them do their job.
Amazing. Sounds simple. I think it'd be interesting then, obviously you've got a range of experience working with startups as well, but it's always great to hear about like that one memorable like project failure that's really inspired and changed your direction and mindset. So a project that didn't go quite to plan, but you learned the most from it.
Well, I mean, I learned a ton from my experience at Diversity, and there were some successes, but we had our fair share of failures. And I mean, one thing that I did during the year that I you know, took a break in between Diversity and HelloBetter was really reflect upon those experiences, and I mean, it was kind of my first job out of university, and I was kind of thrown into it, and of course didn't know what I was doing, nor did anyone else really. I mean, at some point we were 20 people in the company, and there were 2 out of 20 people that had any kind of other full-time job before.
Really? So no one had any commercial experience?
Yeah, all the other people were just, you know, former interns, you know, friends that we brought in, and so, you know, on the one hand, that gave us a great energy because, everyone really was entrusted with a lot of responsibility from the beginning. But at the same time, there wasn't really, there weren't the old hands that you could learn from. And that's something that we certainly are doing very differently now, where we are a much more senior, much more experienced team of professionals, all of whom have some 10 years of experience under their belt in the different domains that they're working in. And that makes a massive difference in the day-to-day work, where you can just sort of trust and rely on other people's expertise, and you don't kind of have to confront every problem from the beginning, and say, okay, what could a solution look like, which was at the case in the old setup. And that's certainly something that I took away from it, is that bringing in experienced people early on is just crucial.
I can imagine you probably had a lot of fun. I personally, it was all full of young people and learning, but like you say, now you're working with a proven workforce that have been there, done that, and they've got their armor on and they're ready to go, which is probably key to the success of the business. So yes, fantastic.
So obviously you've been involved in two major startups, your last two positions within your career. What I always find quite interesting to ask is what if you could have done something differently, or had a kind of gone down a different journey, different track, what would you have done differently? What if you could have done anything in the world, what would you have done?
Think about that.
You've ended up with a really cool job, so
yeah, so I should imagine it's quite a difficult question for you, that one.
No, I mean, I'm definitely happy about where I am right now, because it's a great company. It's a worthwhile purpose that we're working on, and a great team. But there's certainly things, as I said, when I think about diversity, where I feel in hindsight, we should have, tried in a much more structured a fashion to understand what the real problem was that we were solving. Who was our customer, and I mean the typical thing that when that you do in design thinking that oftentimes goes wrong in organizations, where you particularly when you have to pivot, you have a solution and you kind of have to try to make that find product market fit, and it has to be good for something, and that's a different kind of approach than really digging deep into the customer need and figuring out what it is that you can bring to the world that makes someone else's life easier. And oftentimes, like when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail, that kind of problem.
The thing is, I guess you're doing something now as well that must be very, very rewarding as well. You're helping a lot of people. Next question, actually, I can see behind you that you've got lots and lots of books in that bookcase. It'd be really good to get an idea of, so it looks like you're a reader. It'd be really good to get an idea of what books or articles, things that you've read over the years that have really helped you to get to where you are today and helped you become as successful as you are, that you would recommend to our viewers and listeners.
Well, I mean, it's not that I, have a list of books where I say, like, if you read these, you're set for life. But I can certainly talk about books that inspired me, that I found interesting, and that kind of also maybe just influenced my leadership style. So one is A Team of Rivals. Talks about how Lincoln convened his cabinet, bringing people together that had very were of very different character, had different convictions, but it was these kind of differences that made them such a strong team, because they complemented each other and allowed him to chart a course that ultimately led him to success in the Civil War and become, arguably the greatest president in American history. Similarly, actually, also talking about the U.S., the best and the brightest, David Halberstam. It's an account and sort of a group biography of the people that led the U.S. into the Vietnam War and ultimately, into failure. And there's the cataclysmic, war that unfolded and ended up being a complete quagmire. They were some of the smartest people of their generation, interestingly. So what the book teaches you is that, rationality isn't all there is, and they were kind of ignoring or unaware of the fervor of nationalism and these much deeper sort of emotional allegiances that led people to sympathize with the Viet Cong and to support North Vietnam. And even though their statistics showed for years that they were winning because they they dropped this many tons of bombs and they killed this many North Vietnamese, ultimately they were actually losing, and they were kind of their KPIs were really off from a business perspective. And I think not everything that you can measure counts. It's another important lesson.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, no, definitely sounds like an interesting read. I love the idea when you were talking about HelloBetter, not only with the journey that it takes you on, you really help yourself get better, and with the additional support as well is so important. I mean, as part of our business, we're really involved in the tech community, and Sandra's actually been running a host of webinars about taking time in tech. So all about mindfulness in technology and the environment that we work in. So it does really mean a lot to us as a business. So we love to find out how people like yourselves as a CEO, it's high pressure, high stress, it's a big job. How do you keep yourself sane and healthy, and how do you manage the stress of that?
Well, first of all, I think it's about finding a job that doesn't stress you. We have this stress assessment tool that's part of our stress training. And recently, when we, in the midst of COVID and our big corporate customers signing and these 40-hour days, I filled out the stress assessment and I scored 4 out of 30. Because I liked what I was doing.
You must be the least stressed CEO in Berlin. And I mean, you ooze like super cool, chilled vibes.
Yeah, you do.
No, I just felt that we were on the right track. We were doing something meaningful. So why would I be stressed? I mean, there was a lot to do, but okay, that's just the nature of things, and you just have to see that those things get done. That being said, I think routines help. Getting up in the morning, making your bed is the first achievement of the day. I have a pull-up bar at home, so and in the office, so I do my pull-ups whenever I come into the office, whenever I leave the office, so you get your 40, 60 pull-ups in that way without.
There you go, Sandra. That's your tips. Sandra's trying to
like
do
a good pull-up. I'm not very good at them.
Yeah. It's not for everyone, but it's a really effective exercise that requires no time, and you don't need to crawl around on the floor like when you do push-ups, for example. And that's why it's super suitable for the office. And you could do it in a suit, basically. And then, like workout routines, I think are also important. Cooking dinner, like I really enjoy cooking to sort of unwind in the evening. You do something with your hands, something physical, unlike sitting in front of the computer all day. Those are a couple of things that I'd mention.
It worked well for you. Yeah, I think like cooking dinner is so relaxing, isn't it? Because you're like creating something. And
do you generally switch off then when you're, I mean, obviously you're probably working from home all the time now, but if you go back to thinking about when you were in the office, you get home, you cook dinner, have dinner, and then do you generally switch off, or do you still Do you
I
log
usually
on
watch
or
Stephen
check people?
Colbert's Late Show to switch off.
Never seen it.
It's warmly recommended.
Oh, really? Okay. That helps
So
you
so
switch
you're
on.
pretty good. It sounds like you're pretty good at switching off. I think that's the challenge that a lot of people.
Oh,
Oh, I think we just lost you there.
Hello. Yeah.
there you are.
You're frozen, but I think we're okay.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. What were you saying then?
No, I was saying that's where I'm good at switching off. Well, I don't know. I don't have any comparison. I only know myself, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like if you did what you can do, and there's nothing you can be blamed for, if you will. If it then doesn't work, well, what can you do? Then you can sleep soundly, nevertheless.
I love that, because we're kind of like in this, I don't know, like we all kind of self-blame that you can always do better and you can always do more and you can always try harder, and like in reality you just cannot, and you need to give yourself a break, don't you? And like something that I'm really trying to practice this year is to like be kind to yourself as you would to other people, and it's so important. And we're tough on ourselves, but it sounds like you're not, which I love. I admire that, because I'd love to be like that and be able to just be like, well, yeah, I've tried my hardest, I've done everything I need to do, and that's super important. And I think we can all definitely learn a lesson from that and hopefully get a better night's sleep off the back of it. So what's your involvement like in the tech community? Do you get involved in many events, things going on? Obviously things have been a bit quiet in the tech scene lately, and
not much lately. Yeah.
Not much lately, but usually you're quite involved in the community, or
yeah, I mean, the startup community, I've been in this space for 10 years now, so know a lot of people, and it's always sort of meet and greet other founders that you've really come to know many years ago. Seeing them again, it's always a bit like a family reunion at these events. But although I have to say that in the last year we're super focused, because we knew exactly what we wanted to do, what we needed to do. So I wasn't really going to events much. Now, with the upcoming fundraising process, I think I'd be doing more of that, also to pitch and present what we're doing, what we've been up to, and what we've achieved. But in the last year, we're really focused only on industry events in the health and digital health space.
Amazing. Sounds great. So it's a funny time for us at the moment, and a lot of plans for people have gone on hold, but it seems like business as usual for you guys at HelloBetter. What are you most excited about in the sort of plans, 6 months, 12 months plans? What have you got on the agenda?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not business as usual. We actually switched to full-on home office for everyone in March, overnight, basically, and then went on to hire a dozen people or so, many of whom we've never met. So it's far from business as usual, I'd say, and I think our COO would be upset if I said it had been, because he had to deal with all of this. And kudos to Philip for operational excellence. He did an amazing job there, and super proud of him and what he and his team have achieved in making that transition smoothly. So that being said, I think we have a really exciting next 6 months coming up, because we launched our product in April. We'll switch our biggest customer to the new product in August, and then we have a lot of other things planned for the end of the year. We're also kind of beginning to look outward a bit more than we have been in the past year and a half. As I said before, we were super focused, sort of eyes on the ball, because we had a very clear plan and strategy what needed to get done by the middle of this year, and now we got to that milestone, and now it becomes a lot more strategic, because suddenly we've got choices again. Before, we kind of the full focus was on getting the product out and signing a few big deals. Now that has happened. Now we can look out again, look up again and say, okay, where do we want to go next? What's the next hill to climb? And we kind of took a look back and said, wow, it's cool what we've achieved, but now we want to sort of set a new goal for ourselves, and we're in the process of doing that, also looking at new markets, internationalization, new partnerships, and so on.
Sounds like there's a lot happening, a lot coming up, a lot of exciting things for you to embark on in your rest of your journey.
Yeah, definitely. If anyone is listening that wants to find out a little bit more about HelloBetter and how it might be able to help them, what's the best way to look into that? Just on the website? Yeah,
HelloBetter.de for now is our German as well as English website. We're also looking into different domains. But yeah, there you can find the programs that we currently have. We also have a lot of information on our blog that is, if you're not ready to commit to a full training that would take you 6 to 8 weeks of sort of fairly intensive introspection and work on changing your life, but first want to maybe learn more about a given condition, then there you'll find lots of relevant information that's been it's been carefully curated and written by psychologists and psychotherapists. It's really high quality material that I'd strongly recommend as an entry point to sort of learn more and see what's right for you. Because it's not about, I wouldn't say, everyone needs to take our courses. It's the right solution for some people. Some people might need something else. And we hope we provide the right kind of information that allows you to find out.
Sounds fantastic. Definitely sounds really interesting. I can't wait to have a read. So I'm excited for that. So thank you so much. It's been fantastic meeting you today. If anyone wants to get in touch, is it best via Twitter, LinkedIn? What's the best form of contact?
LinkedIn. I'm actually pretty active on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter as well. H Klöpper, all one word. Feel free to reach out to me or shoot me an email. It's h.klopper, KLOEPPER @hellobetter.de.
Perfect.
Fantastic.
Lovely. Thank you so much for taking the time to spend your afternoon with us. It's been fantastic hearing your story, Hannes.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thanks for coming on the show.
All right. Bye.
Bye.